The third thing is this. When I got out of prison in May of 2006, right, I had absolutely no money. None. Okay? It's sad to say, but when I left prison, you know, most of the people that were in there, they would have their families send them, you know, clothes. They would send them shirts. They would send them shoes. And I would see guys, you know, packing up to leave prison, and they had, you know, new jeans, new tennis shoes, new clothes on, and everything. And the guys would flaunt and they would show off, you know, like how fancy their outfits were when they were leaving prison, because as they were leaving, they were on the other side of the fence, and they would leave, and they would go in a direction that, you know, everybody can see them and things like that, so that, you know, they can show basically, you know, hey, I'm doing good, I got family that have money and stuff. Hold on. Okay, so that was very common, guys, for people to do that. As they were leaving prison, they would show off how much, you know, money their family had, and most of it was just all fake. You know, those guys were broke inside the prison, and then all of a sudden now they would have money. You know, it just, to me, it was all fake. Okay, I didn't believe none of that. Okay, for me, when I was leaving prison, my family did not have any money. You know, I had already been locked up for over 14 years in federal prison for drugs, and I did not have any money on the outside. I had no support. I got locked up when I was 18, so I had nobody that supported me from the outside, okay? So when I left, I mean, it's embarrassing, but when I left, I did not know that I was going to have any clothes to wear when I got outside the prison, okay, in 2006. So what I did was I put on extra T-shirts that I was in prison, and I put on extra boxers so that, you know, when I leave the prison, I knew that at least I had 2 or 3 days worth of clothes. I knew that I could wear the same T-shirt, you know, for a couple of days. And then, so if I did that, you know, if I wore, you know, 3 T-shirts with me and 3 boxers with me, I knew that I could at least have enough clothes to wear for at least a week when I got outside of the prison. So that's what I did. You know, I didn't, because I didn't have any. My family did not have enough money to send me to send me so that I can get out. Okay, to wear to get out. And matter of fact, I did not even have enough. When I was released from prison, one of the conditions was that I had to have somebody come pick me up from the prison, right, to come home. Otherwise, they would not release me. The prison authorities cannot just release a prisoner, out onto the streets. They had to have someone confirm that they can give me a ride to go to get back home. And if you guys follow my channel, one of the reasons why I'm helping out Casey on my channel, she's the intern on our channel, was because her uncle was the one who volunteered to come pick me up from prison. To bring me home, or else I would not be released from prison. And that's why I'm helping her out today. You know, back then she was just in middle school, like in the 5th or 6th grade or something like that back then, okay? And that's when I met her for the first time. If you guys are wondering how I know Casey, the independent filmmaker that's on our channel right now, that's how I know her, okay? Because her uncle was the one who volunteered to come and pick me up from the prison so that I can come home, okay? So when I came home, right, the first thing was my stepmom, my sister, my little brother, everybody around me, right, in the city of Austin told me that I was stupid, I was crazy, I was a nutcase for trying to learn how to trade stocks and invest in the stock market and everything. And I never let that hold me back. I never let that hold me back, because I knew what I wanted to do, and I already read enough books to know that there are people out there who are million-dollar traders who have succeeded at trading and investing and have become millionaires off of this stuff. And I can do it too. Because one thing I learned when I was reading all the trading books was that that was not something that I could, that was not something that, that was like impossible. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only a handful of people in the world that can become a heart surgeon, that, you know, is qualified to remove someone's heart and put a new heart in. But, you know, when it comes to trading, I saw that based on what I've read in those books, I did not see anything that was so difficult that I could not do. Yes, I was a high school dropout. Yes, I was a college dropout. But you know what? That was not something that I was incapable of doing. Okay, so that I did not let my immediate family members, and those are the people that hold us back, in my opinion, the most. Most poor people, the people that hold them back the most, right, are usually their own parents or their own family members right around them. Okay, their uncles, their parents, their grandparents, their brothers, sisters. Okay, so if you want to become a $1 million trader, right, you really got to be careful and not let the people around you hold you back from doing what you need to do to succeed. Okay, so at that time, the reason why my stepmom and my sister and everyone told me that I would never become a trader was because they said, hey, you just got out of prison, you got no money, you got nothing, you got no clothes, you got nothing, right? So because of that, how the hell are you going to become a trader and become successful at it when you're in your mid-30s already? You've been in prison since you were 18 all the way to now, and you're in your mid-30s, and now you want to talk about becoming a millionaire and shit. Like, you ain't got no high school degree, you ain't got no college degree, you ain't got shit, and you want to become a $1 million trader? Are you stupid or what? Okay? And I would just nod my head, and at that time, I'll admit, you know, it was really tough because I had nothing. I didn't even have $1 in my pocket, okay? And it was really tough, guys. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that that was easy, okay? It was really tough. You know, I was going to work, I was, you know, getting 2 jobs, and then during the day, I would work at the clubs as a bouncer at night, and during the daytime, I would spend all my time on the computer, learning how to use the computer, learning how to because I'd never seen a computer before up until that time, okay? So I've seen it, you know, but actually using it and typing on it and learning how to use it, that was not something that I had done because the entire time I was locked up. So I you know, didn't know how to do it. So at that time, I remember everyone laughing around me. Even when I was working at work, I was working around, and all the other bouncers, when we were waiting at the end of the night to close up the club, I would pull out my trading books and I would read it while I was waiting for them to count the money and pay everyone, the tips and everything. I would sit there and I would read my stock trading books, right? Because I knew that working as a bouncer and as a club promoter was just a temporary stage in my life. You know, I did not see myself doing that for the rest of my life. You know, I made some mistakes when I was a teenager and got involved with the wrong people and got involved in drugs. You know, I got punished for it, you know, for 14 years in prison, and then now I get out. I did not see myself being a bouncer and working at a club for 10, 11 bucks an hour for the rest of my life. I did not see that at all. To me, that was just that job was just a stepping stone for me to go to the next level, no matter what the next level was, okay? And so I had this brilliant idea one day. I noticed that all the homeless people in the club district in downtown Austin were asking for money, okay? I noticed that, hey, you know what? They were asking for money from all the thousands of people that went downtown to go clubbing downtown. And I would see that the same homeless people asking for money every night. And I noticed that they made a good living. And the reason why I know they made a good living was 2 reasons. One was because all the homeless people in Austin, Texas, in the city of Austin, they all had a dog. And their dogs were fat and happy. Like, they were not starving dogs like you see in some third world countries, right? These dogs were really fat and thick and juicy, right? And they were doing the same thing every day, right? And I also read in the Austin Statesman, which is the local newspaper there, and they said that the average homeless person was making over $8 an hour, okay? Basically, I was making like, I think $11 an hour at that time, and the homeless people were making about $8.37 or something like that. And I thought about this, and I was like, dude, these guys are homeless. They're hanging out with their best friend, their dog, and they're making just as much money, almost as much money as I am, working my butt off at the clubs, right? And I also noticed that in the city that I lived in, it had one of the best universities in America, and the name of that university is called the University of Texas in Austin, right? And I noticed that there was a lot of wealthy kids that attended that university, a lot of wealthy white kids that attended there. And I always grew up with the mentality that, you know, the white people are the ones who know how to make the money, okay? You know, there's a lot of ethnic groups that say, oh, you know, there's black people that make money too, and then there's, you know, Asian people that make money too. I agree with that, but in America, there's more white people that make money than there are any other ethnic group, okay? Because they're the majority of the population in America, okay? Despite what you see on TV, despite what you hear on TV and stuff like that, the majority of America is white, okay? The majority of America is not black, is not Asian, is not Hispanic. The majority of America is white, okay? And so those are the majority of the people that made money. And so I noticed that since the homeless people were asking for money all around me, I asked myself, I wondered if I were to ask for money, if someone would give it to me. See, up until that point, I had already saved up like $2,500 since I got out, right? And I had invested all that $2,500 to go learn how to trade stocks. You know, I ran into some traders that knew how to trade, and I saw them trading, so I wanted to learn what they learned, so I invested that whole $2,500 into them so that they can teach me how to trade. And I had no money left. And after I learned how to trade, I said, man, I need some money to start a trading account. And at that time, I did not have any money. And I did the math. Hey, you know, I can save, you know, a couple $100s a month, but it would take me forever before, it would take me years before I'm able to save up like $10,000 to open up my first trading account, right? So I saw what the homeless people were doing, asking for money, and they got it. So I had this brilliant idea, and I said, you know what? I wonder what would happen if I stood there on the streets and asked every person that walked by me for some money so that I can start trading, right? And I said, the worst case scenario is that they just say no and I don't get it, right? And there was in addition to the homeless people making consistent money down there asking for it, and the newspaper, the local newspaper saying how much money they made, the third reason was that I also had a job picking up as a club bouncer and a club promoter there. My job was to go out onto the streets and ask the hot girls to come into the club, okay? And I noticed that every 10 or 12 girls that I approached, and I would ask them, hey, would you guys like to come into our club, right? Almost 3 out of every 10 or 12 would come into the club. And I did that for like 3 years. So I know it was very consistent. Every day they would pay me to go out there and ask the girls, the hot girls, to come into the club, because if we bring hot girls into the club, all the guys would go in there and buy drinks and food and all that other stuff, okay? So it dawned on me that if I ask enough people for $10,000, eventually somebody around here has got to have so much money that $10,000 is nothing to them, okay? And I did that for months and months and months, and I asked hundreds of people. Now, during this time that I was standing there on the street corner asking everybody that walked past me for $10,000, right? All my coworkers said I was stupid, I was an idiot, and there is no freaking way that anybody would ever give me $10,000 to trade, okay? So the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you about being $1 million trader, you guys already know that somebody eventually did give me $10,000, okay? And it was a guy named Andrew, okay? And I am forever, forever grateful to you, Andrew, the auctioneer that's listening to this, if you watch this video, okay? This young guy that was about 26 years old, his name was Andrew, and he was an auctioneer. He's like one of the best auctioneers on the planet, okay? He was an auctioneer, and he used to auction art on cruise ships and made a ton of money, okay? And on the cruise ship, and then he never got to spend the money. So at 26 years old, he had a bunch of money that he had saved up. He tried to invest it into the stock market. He failed miserably, right? And so when I met him and I asked him, hey, would you happen to have $10,000 from me to open up a stock trading account and start learning how to trade stocks? He thought I was a nutcase, but he asked me, do you know how to trade stocks? And I said, yes, I do, because I went to this school, I learned how to trade stocks, and these are the guys that's trading me. You can call them yourself and verify it. They're my mentors. They're the people that's teaching me how to trade stocks, right? So, and I also opened up the phone and I told him, hey, you can search through all my contacts, and it was an old ass a Nokia phone too, one of those push button phones with just like one single a line screen on it, because you know I had no money at that time, so I had to use an old ass phone. At that time, I think everyone was using those Motorola flip phones and a bunch of fancy phones, but I had this old ass Nokia's all scratched up and everything, right? And so I said, you can look through these, and at that time that phone only held 300 contacts, and I had a few dozen contacts in there, and I said, you can look through this phone and search through anybody and ask them for a character reference about me. You know, I'm not going to even tell them that you're calling. You can just call in them, you know, to show you that I'm not bullshitting, I'm not here to scam you or nothing like that. You know, I spent all my money and invested it into my education, and now I need some money to start my actual trading account. And he thought I was a nutcase at first, and then he thought about it, and then I gave him several other conditions. You know, I told him, hey, whatever money we make, I'll split it in half, and if for some reason, I came up with a bunch of criteria so to make him feel safer about it, right? And so what he did was, after make a long story short, he did his due diligence. He contacted all the people that he needed to, you know, to reference who I was and everything, and he ended up giving me $10,000 to open up my first stock trading account. And till this day, I am forever grateful to Andrew, the auctioneer, because if it hadn't been for him, I would never have the money to start my first trading account, okay? So what happened was, that was in 2008. I remember in March of 2008 was when I made my first stock trade, right? I was using a broker called Terra Nova at that time. My hands were shaking. I remember buying my first 10 shares of stock, and it was the scariest moment in my life. You know, I had been studying since, I don't know, for almost 4 years now, seriously and religiously on how to trade stocks, and now I got to buy my first actual shares with real money, and I did it, okay? And I did okay. Okay? And this is where, that's lesson number 3. Right there, guys, okay? That's lesson number 3. The first one is get educated. The second one is, you know, no Uncle Neds. You know, Uncle Neds are basically people that are uneducated about trading and investing, okay? And the third is, you know, do whatever it takes, okay? I was willing to stand there, right? I was willing to stand there on the street corner and ask hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people until I got my $10,000 to start my first trading account, okay? And no matter what people around me, no matter what my stepmom, my sister, my little brother, my co-workers, everybody told me I was stupid and crazy, this is never going to happen, I just stuck to my guns, and I just stuck to it, and I never gave up, okay? I never gave up, okay? Even at that time, my parole officer was telling me I was nuts. She thought I was trying to do something illegal again, and she was just, you know, she was piss testing me every week. She was trying to get me simply because I told her that I wanted to become $1 million trader, right? She just didn't believe that, okay? So that's, you know, the third thing that I did to help me become $1 million trader was that I did whatever it took, okay? During that time, I had no money, and to save money, I was, you know, in my apartment. I had my jeans rolled up as my pillow. I had my blanket, right, was my jacket, and that was it. You know, I lived lean. I didn't, you know, when I came home from work, I would take the cup from the club, and I would take the spoons and the plastic forks, and that was my utensils when I got back to my apartment, my studio apartment, and that was it. I lived very lean. I went to about one chicken, one rotisserie chicken, and one loaf of French bread, and I cut that bread up into like 4 sections so I can have 4 meals, and then I cut the chicken up into 4 sections so that I can have 4 servings, okay? And that right there cost me like $5 for the chicken and $1 for the loaf of bread, and that's what I ate for several months, you know? And most people didn't know that during that time. I ate the same chicken and the same bread almost every day for like 6 months so that I can save up some money to do what I needed to do to invest, okay? So are you willing to do whatever it takes, right? I didn't go out, right? Check this out. When I first got out of prison, right, one of the guys that I met when I was asking him for money to trade, you know, I was telling him I was a trader and everything, I remember him telling me, he asking me, have you gotten laid yet, Ty? Okay? In case you're outside the U.S., getting laid means that have you had sex with a woman yet since you've been out? Okay? Since you've been out of prison, how long has it been, right? And it was like 6 months since I've been out. And he said, have you had sex with a woman yet? You haven't seen a woman since you were 18 years old. Have you had sex with a woman yet? That's the most important thing. That's what he was trying to put into my head. That was what he was trying to put in my head. And I told him, no, I haven't had sex with anybody since I was 18, right? And I was in my mid-30s at that time. And he said, dude, you worried about stock trading? You worried about trading? We got to go get you laid. We got to get you with a woman, right? And I remember this. He took out his wallet and he pulled out $500 bills. 5 $100 bills. I still remember to this day. We were sitting there at a high-top a bar stool, and he pulled out $500 at this restaurant, and he said, I am willing to put up $500 right now to go get you laid tonight. And I looked at him, and with a serious face, I said, hey, man, you know, if you really want to help me, I would rather use that $500. I'd rather take that $500 and go and invest it in the stock market. And he took it and he shoved it back in his wallet and he goes, no. He goes, I'm going to go help get you laid. I want to be the guy that helps you get some poontang for the first time in your life, right? Since you were 18, okay? And I said, I'd rather take that $500 and go invest it in the stock market. And at the end of the day, he did not give me that $500, okay? So my question to you is this. When you say that you want to become a serious trader, when you want to become a multi-million-dollar trader, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing, right, to give up sex, right, and go and do what it takes to become a successful trader? Are you willing to do that? Okay? So that was reason number 3, guys. I was willing to do whatever it took. I was willing to do whatever it takes, okay, to become a successful trader, okay? Are you willing to do that, okay? You might hear me say that I'm a $1 million trader, okay, because I was willing to do what it takes. And I invite you to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes, okay? And if you're not, then maybe you don't deserve to be a $1 million trader, okay? So that was number 3.